Welcome to the Two Chumps Football Podcast. It's me, Chad Wilson. That's Emil Calamino. We're back at you after a little bit of a break. We took a little break after the Super Bowl, as we do every year, kind of let some things settle and unfold. And boy, have they ever, Emil. There's a lot to talk about coming up on the show today. And a lot of it is going to surround the whole free agency situation because it's a different season all on its own in the NFL. Kudos to them. They've found a way to package the offseason into a whole nother game, a slew of games. And the games are being played, Emil, as we are into day 3 of the NFL free agency. So we'll talk about that. Chad Wilson has a rant, and it's about, of course, the state of college football. And the Godfather has spoken. He went to Capitol Hill, and that ruffles people's feathers every time Nick Saban has something to say about the state of college football. Certain low vibration individuals have things to say.
He has a lot of haters.
He has a lot of haters, understandable, but I'm going to get into it here on the show. And as always, you guys take a moment to visit our sponsor, Bovada Sportsbook. They are one of the oldest and safest operating sportsbooks online. If you want to line on something, they got it. Golf, politics, NBA, baseball's coming up, Emil, your time of year.
You want to sit there and bet on plays?
Whatever, man. We are a gambling nation, society, whatever. If you're going to do it, check out our sponsor, Bovada Sportsbook. There will be a link in the description to the show, no matter where you happen to be consuming it. And, of course, subscribe to the show. If you're watching us here on YouTube, go ahead and do that. Hit the channel and the bell. Go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss out on the next show. And, of course, wherever you are streaming this show right now, whether that is on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever, go ahead, hit subscribe on the show. I'm sure you're going to want to be with us every week. I mean, look at Emil. Look at that mug. Of course you'd want to see that each and every week.
You even brought your Miami hat out.
I've got my...
The
Okay. All right. It's our year.
We're back.
I probably just blasted the microphone on everyone. No, I'm not on that chain. Okay. Emil, fans have a problem with players and former players when it comes to this stuff because we're a little more even-minded when it comes to the prospects of our team. So when the fan base is yelling, we're back, or we're going to be undefeated this year, or we're going to win it all, and players, former players say, hey, hold on, calm down a little bit. They get pissed off that we're not on the 12-0 train.
I saw the last practice. No, we're not.
Relax a little bit. Okay, this is going to be a slow burn. We don't want you guys to OD. We don't want you to take all of the powder up your nose and pass out by week 5. Okay, calm down. We'll try to help you guys. But anyway, this is not a University of Miami discussion. I've got my hat on today. Love my hat and my Miami Hurricanes. And no, I am not predicting a 12-0 season. So
the visor is very Lane Kiffin-ish.
I'm a visor guy, man. I'm not a really ball cap kind of dude. That was my dad, not me. Which is funny enough. He's the golfer, not me. He was the golfer, but wasn't a visor guy. He's a ball cap kind of dude. Anyway, Emil, I've had it up to here with folks as it pertains. There's just a certain amount of lack of respect that we have in society right now. When I look at Nick Saban, a guy that has devoted 50 years of his life to college football, and he is, in my opinion, the most successful college football coach that we have ever had in the game.
Is that debatable even at this point?
If you're from LSU or you're, from Clemson or one of these other places, Florida, you're a Florida Gator fan, you're going to debate that till the cows come home.
It's just.
If you're a level-headed human being, that's just not, into your fan bag, you are understanding that this is the most successful college football coach that we've ever had, coming through the most, what's the heyday, I guess? I mean, I guess that's what you can call it in terms of the growth of the game. This is the heyday of college football. We're at the apex in terms of the amount of attention and, wealth, money that's generated by the game, the TV contracts and everything else. So when a man of this stature, who has now exited the game, comes and wants to speak on the game And it's not, people think all he should be talking about now, if he ever decides to talk about our X's and O's, as if they would even understand it if he did. They get upset when he wants to talk about the state of college football. And so he was on Capitol Hill yesterday with some very interesting comments pertaining to the state of college football and also why he left out of the game, which I totally get, Emil. But apparently there's a whole bunch of fans out there that are just, have a simple-minded view of Nick Saban's comments when he makes them. And this is not the first time. Each and every way along the line, as different things have come out in college football, he has offered his opinion on it. And you know what, Emil? He's earned the right to have that opinion. It started with the first time I really remember this happening is when everyone was doing the hurry-up offenses, and he questioned whether or not this is actually safe for the players because you've got players out there fully exhausted, not really ready for a play, and this is a dangerous game, and he talked about that.
You remember the push back then? They're like, oh, he just doesn't like it because he can't stop it. Well,
yeah, he's a defensive guy. And okay, what did he do? And first, this has been his MO the entire time through. Okay, this is the most intelligent coach in college football. I'm telling you guys, this is probably not really good for the game or the players. Do you guys want to do anything about it? No? Okay. Lane Kiffin, come on. Here, we're going to run a hurry-up offense. We're going to punch you in the face with it. Boom, championship. Then he starts talking about guys' ability to transfer. We don't think this is really good for the game. I personally don't think this is good for the game. I've been around it for 30, 40 years now. I do have some experience. I know what I'm talking about, which, by the way, young folks in this day and age don't care about experience. He's telling you, though, with all of his infinite wisdom, that I don't think this is really, really good for the game. Just letting guys transfer around like that, and we turn this thing into free agency. Do you guys want to do anything about it? No? Okay, cool. We're going to start pulling in transfers because we're Alabama at this point. All right. When I got to Alabama, it wasn't really Alabama. This was not Bear Bryant's Alabama, but through my infinite wisdom and how I run a program, I built Alabama up into being Alabama. And now if you guys don't want to do anything about just anyone transferring, I'm not going to sit here and get my face beat in. I'm going to play this game as hard or harder than anyone else. Bring transfers in. Start winning. Okay. I think before that, though, he may have made some mention about how there's money passing through back channels for players to obviously sign out of high school. He made some mention about it, said it's probably not good for the game. Do you guys want to do anything about it? Well, okay, fine. I'm in Alabama. We're Alabama. I'm Nick Saban. Hey, I'm not going to say it out in the open, but that's the game I'm going to play.
Right.
He gets the best players, goes out, wins SEC championship, national championship. After the transfer portal, NIL comes along. Doesn't express that he is against NIL and players getting money, but just the way that it's being run lawlessly. You can make whatever, and it has no kind of cap. There's no kind of guardrails on there, and it's not going to be good for the game, especially paired with a transfer portal where guys can transfer whenever they want and suffer no penalties. Do you guys want to do anything about it? No? Fine. I'll bring the best in and we'll hammer you over the head with it. So now that he has exited the game on the heels of a loss to Michigan, which, by the way, Emil, you and I watched that game, didn't we? He very well could have won that football
Michigan
game.
needed an all-time drive in the last 4 minutes to send the game to overtime. So yeah, I mean he had Michigan by the throat with probably not one of his best. Certainly not one of his best teams.
No, and not the best quarterback that he's had. Maybe Jalen Milroe grows into something else, but at that point in time, not the best quarterback that he's ever had. He missed it by that much to the team that eventually won it all. But the long way buyings out there are saying, oh, well, now that things are not in his favor and he can't just buy every player that he wants and things are evened out now. Yeah, things are evened out in college football. Yeah. It's evened out now. He got out of the game. No, he got out of the game because he's 72 years old, number one. Number two is he does not recognize the game that he is coaching. And as I just laid out for you, all along the way, he expressed himself on everything that was happening in college football. He asked the powers that be, do you want to do anything about it? They said no. He said fine, and he used it against everyone else in a better way. And when you're talking to a guy that has met Nick Saban personally, and he's a solid human being. All right. There's no doubt that he's run that program the way that a program should be run, like a business. And, his father owned the gas station, and he got a chance to see that. And he has run his football program like a business. And one of the lines he's always used, it's always resonated with me, is he's maximizing the value for the player. When they come in, it's not just about football. It's a total representation development of a player. And with this, I think I should play probably a really good segment of what he said on Capitol Hill. Abel, and you can chime in on what you hear here.
That create some kind of competitive balance, which right now we don't have in college athletics. It's whoever wants to pay the most money, raise the most money, buy the most players, is going to have the best opportunity to win. I don't think that's the spirit of college athletics. I don't think it's ever been the spirit of what we want college athletics to be. So, that's my major concern. The combination of pay for play, free agency, and how that impacts development. And I can attest that I've had 2 NFL coaches tell me, and this is a football deal because they're concerned about the football part, that the players come to them less developed, with more entitlements and less resiliency to overcome adversity. We've worked so hard for the last.
And on the heels of those comments, people are saying that it's just because it's more balanced now and he can't just buy all the players. Emil, that is absolutely silly.
He was in the Final Four.
He was in the Final Four. On the heels of that. And we just talked about how close he was to winning the game against the team that actually won it all. You and I probably, if they were underdogs against Washington, let's say they beat Michigan and they were underdogs to Washington of any amount, we probably would have picked Alabama against Washington and they would have been the national champions. I want to ask you, Emil, and to any fan out there that feels, Nick Saban left and he's making these comments now because, things are all even out, that if you stripped the ability somehow that you could police money out of the game of college football, nobody could get paid and there was no way to get away with it, do you not still think Alabama would have dominated while Nick Saban was there?
Hell, listen, they were going to dominate because he runs the best program and he's the best coach.
Period. End of story. Whatever it was you were using, if there was money in it and you could buy players, he was going to win. If you took that out and all you could do was just recruit on merit and whatever and selling your program, he was going to win. The truth of the matter is Nick Saban was a better coach than your football team's coach. He ran a better program than your little shitty football program that you root for in whatever corner of this country that you reside. He was just going to beat your team and you're just going to be pissed about it. And you should just be happy that he's out of college football and that he's offering his opinion on things.
Well, I'd like, when you play that, what I like to do with these things, I love to read a transcript when I can find it. And yesterday I was reading a lot of this last night. And I don't know if that was the exact exchange, if I remember, but it was with him and Senator Ted Cruz. He was going back and forth the players, and I don't know if he said it or Cruz said it back to him. But
was it intelligent?
Pardon me?
What was said? Was it intelligent?
It was insightful.
It was probably Saban.
It might have been, but no. But I mean, it was like one of them said, "Well, who wants to watch a game where you have one team with this is essentially a set of NFL players and the other team is a junior high flag football team? That's not very competitive.
Right?
It's not very interesting, And isn't that what athletics is? Competition. You're selling the entertainment of competition, and if you get to a point where it's not very competitive, it becomes not very interesting."
Yeah, I think that's great. And you know what? I think that's more along the lines of we have a scheduling problem, perhaps, in college football. I think we have a conference problem in college football. Listen, whether we like it or not, money is going to come into the game and the money has to go somewhere. And yes, the players should get some of the money. Obviously, the university should get the money. a portion of the money, and obviously the coaches should get a portion of the money. And I'm still of the mindset that the coaches should get the salaries that they get because of the value that they bring to the colleges.
Well, let's talk about where this starts to diverge, because Saban opened a can of worms with people getting paid. Now, the next step here, and Dartmouth's basketball team did this. We talked about it the last time we did a show. They want to they want to unionize and be classified as employees.
Mhm.
And a couple ADs chimed into this transcript I was reading saying, if at any time throughout college sports, they want to pass a bill, by the way, to say they can't, but if at any time they allow the players to be called employees, this AD said essentially you will have no college sports other than he explained what he was going to say. He said there's only two sports that make money for most universities: men's basketball and college football.
Sure.
They fund everything else. So he said, if I've got 28 sports programs between men and women, under Title IX, I have to give women equal opportunity as men. So he said, real simple, everybody becomes an employee. I have men's football and basketball, and then I have 4 women's sports to make a year. And we go from 28 to 6 in 1 fiscal year.
Yeah, and you cut everything else.
So he said it's not going to provide more opportunity. It's going to provide less. He said that's what people are missing here. This whole notion that, we're going to make these people employees. He said they're student athletes. That's what they are. He said the minute you change that, and I said on our last show to you, I said what people forget is most people who watch the show like ours or a national show, they're fans of a major university sports team. Because let's be honest, they keep making the joke. This is AAA football we're watching. So
Right.
So they don't really care or think much about Dartmouth. I'm here to tell you the Ivy League could go away tomorrow. They could get rid of all their sports.
It'll be cool. Their money's fine. Their endowment will not be affected. And it's a wealthy endowment.
Yes, their money's fine and their reputation's fine, and people will still want to go to Harvard, Princeton, Penn, and Dartmouth. And so
and they could very easily do that. Listen, we're Harvard. You know what we do here. And you guys can go watch football games on TV. Or if you really need to have football on campus, go to Alabama, go to Clemson, go to the SEC, go do that. I don't know what your degree is going to look like when it's on the desk of a future employer next to one of our folks, but you guys are free to do that. You can go do that if you want.
I went to a Jesuit university, 4,000 undergrad, dropped football in 1960, Division III and everything else. We're fine.
Yeah, we're just fine. Listen, I was actually on a team that dropped college football. Long Beach State is just fine.
Young people don't think this stuff can happen because they've never seen it happen recently, but it can happen really quick. And I think people have to start understanding it. And another point I was making last night watching some basketball with my son-in-law, the other problem people have with NIL fans, they think every guy is Caleb Williams, who made whatever they said he made.
Right, because that's what's in their face. There's 85 scholarship football players, man. 5 of them are going to be worthy of an NIL deal.
But let me go high here. I'll say, let's say every guy on the football or basketball team got $50,000 a year. And I said this to my son-in-law. If you handed me $50,000 a year when I was 18, I can almost guarantee you that under a bookie, a track, or a bar,
they're going to try to parlay that 50 into 250.
At the end of the 4 years, they didn't give me 50 every year. I probably wouldn't have had very much, if anything, left. So we're sending these kids through college at the big schools. No incentive to take college seriously in many cases. They get through. They don't make it in the NFL. They don't make it in the NBA, and they don't have a degree. So what?
And I think a big part of what you read the transcripts, I heard in, I saw the videos. And a big part of what he's saying is we're developing an entire human being when you come to Alabama, and that is preparing you for life without football. Because at some point, all of you will be in that boat. Some of you will be fortunate enough to go on to the NFL and have a career. If you're at Alabama, more than most other colleges will be drafted and spend some amount of time in the NFL, but at some point you'll be without it. For a good majority of this football team, you won't have that opportunity. And so now you will immediately be catapulted into your adult life. Whereas all of these skills and things that we have been developing will now come into play. And you will be a better overall person having left Alabama.
Right.
What he's saying now.
There's a couple of coaches. I mean, I think Sweeney to a degree tries to do that at Clemson, and maybe not to the extent of Saban. I mean,
Emil, I want to say I think that is the intent of almost all of these coaches. Is just it's kind of what happens to a politician, right? You think you want to make a difference in your community, and you grew up with this idealistic way of thinking that I'm going to clean up the streets, I'm going to do this, that, and then you get in there and find out that there's lobbyists, there's people that are going to pull you one way and push the other. If you want to get reelected, you can't do this, you can't clean that street right there. You can't do this to the police right here, or you can't do this to this community right here, and then you turn into a totally different person. And I think that happens to a lot of college football.
Well, yeah. I mean, eventually what happens is, I think that's the human condition. You get to a place, you're idealistic, you think you can change it, you realize you can't change it. So ultimately you just shrug your shoulders and go, well, I'm here.
I'm going to get my paycheck. I'm going to get my paycheck. That probably happens to a lot of police officers too. I'm going to clean up these streets. I'm going to be a community servant. Now, when you get in there and find out that there's an internal affairs and then there's corrupt cops in there that won't allow you to operate on a daily basis, trying to be good old Jipper, good cop, you change. And 10, 15 years into the profession, you are God.
Let's be honest, the pressure that these guys are under to win immediately, there's not much runway.
It's time to develop a guy.
No, there's not much runway. So a guy comes in, and if in 3 years he's not winning 10, 11 games, they're on to especially some of these schools, like you were kidding with me earlier during last season about when Jimbo Fisher was at A&M and how much money they owed him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I said to you, Texas is a big state. They'll pay him. If you remember the segment, I said, oh, no, they'll pay him. I mean,
they'll just burn through the cash. No problem.
Care. Oh, yeah. We $80 million? We don't care.
No worries. I mean, I was in Kyle Field during the pandemic, and they had 60,000 people in the stadium. All right, so they're going to get their money. But, I recently did some pre-draft prep work, and obviously I'm working with a number of players. I must have had a group of 8 to 10 guys in there, and I think 2 out of the 10 did all 4 of their years at one college. And I want to say about 3.
8 of the 10 had more than 2 colleges, or 6 of the 10.
Yes. Majority of the remaining guys were 3 or more. And so that's just the situation right now. So there is how do I develop a player that comes in and I know there's a better chance than not that he's going to be out of this program within 1 or 2 years. He's going to come in, he's going to go through that first training camp. He's going to see himself 3rd or 4th on the depth chart, and he's just not willing to go through and face the adversity and go through all of those things. And I can get him to his junior year, and he can see that everything will be all right, that if you put in the time, you put in the effort, you study, you work, you follow these steps, you do these things that we're asking you, not only as for football, but for just as the general development of a human being, you can get yourself through, get to the top of the depth chart, and achieve your goals in life. And it's less and less of a possibility as a college coach when you bring a player into your program. If he's not playing as a freshman, if he can't see himself moving up the depth chart immediately, he's gone, he's out of there.
And that's why, if you look at the NFL, the reason they want to interview a lot of these players is because they understand that every guy, generally speaking, is going to fall in a range on the athletic scale. It's very tight. I mean, the difference is the guys who are just freaks, the Tyreek Hills, the Micah Parsons, those guys are few and far between where they go outside the range. So it's going to be a tight window as far as athletic ability. They want to know, how is this guy going to react to failure? Some of the best. That's what they're really trying to figure out. How is this guy going to react to competition?
He went to 4 high schools and to 3 colleges.
Right. Because I think we have at every level, but at the NFL level, they're always bringing in somebody that they want to be able to take your job, and your job is to not let them take your job.
I mean, that's really what it is.
Yeah.
Those rookies come in, they don't make much. You just got paid, and they're looking to replace you. Your number's on a page. There's your
Right.
jersey number, and then there's your salary number. And
Right.
that's really what it is. There's a bean counter up there, there's an analytics guy, and there's a salary capologist that's looking at your number on the page, and every year it gets bigger and bigger. And so what are you going to do
We're
about
gonna
it?
get into that in our next segment, but that's a little bit of, what fans forget, because remember, free agency, which we'll talk about next, fans forget that you're building a team, you got a pool of money. I got player A makes $10 million a year. Let's use numbers because people understand it. On a Madden scale, he's a 90. And player B over here makes $1 million. And on a Madden scale, he's an 86.
Right.
Well, it may make more sense for me to take the 86 because it's not that much of a change and deploy that extra $9 million on other parts of my roster. And overall, I get better. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably a good segue into our next discussion, man. But putting a bow on this thing, we're going to continue to have these discussions about the state of college football because although it is at its peak, if we're looking at numbers on a page, the viewership was up. It's at its apex. It will be up again next year, especially with the addition of a 12-team playoff. But it doesn't mean that it's healthy. Emil, you know what I mean? You could be walking around in life upright, strong at the gym, and there's a cancer cell growing inside of you somewhere, and you won't find out until the ugly end. And then someone tells you, doc tells you, oh, you got a year to live, or whatever the case may be. And I see. Listen, if the NCAA or the powers that be don't jump in and start doing something to clean up what's going on, and that is not me advocating for taking away NIL and taking away
Not going from at this point. That's
not anything that the players deserve some money. But if you don't start getting in there and really start trying to, for lack of a better term, regiment this and start putting some guardrails back up on transferring, because we think, oh, they should have free movement. These are 18 and 19-year-olds. We shouldn't be in the business of giving 18 and 19-year-olds all of the freedoms that 40, 50, and 60-year-olds have. Okay, 40, 50, and 60-year-olds have lived a certain amount of their life, have a certain amount of experience, and there's a possibility they may abuse those freedoms that they have, but they should have them. They have earned them. They've spent that time. So 18-year-olds and 50-year-olds are not the same.
As a society, our job is to try to help people when they're younger to become productive 40, 50, and 60-year-olds.
Right. And if we're telling an 18-year-old, you are the same as a 50-year-old, you should have all these same freedoms and movements, and you should be able to make all of these same decisions that a 50-year-old makes. What are they going to be when they're 40 or 50? What did they learn on that 20 to 30-year trek? Absolutely nothing. This is just something very difficult to get across to young people that age. And then you also have 20, 30-year-old men. I guess they're fans of teams that just don't understand that concept either. And they're very young-minded. And I don't know if they're just clouded by their fandom. But just hearing grown men speak like this, as if there's not going to be any consequences for these 18 and 19-year-olds with things set up the way that they are, it's just mind-numbing to me. And a lot of these people are parents putting kids out.
My favorite guilty pleasure is going on a story on Bleacher Report that's controversial and reading the comment section from these 20 to 30-year-olds. Yes. Because,
Unbelievable.
how, by the way, they write and the language that they're using, their age, generally speaking. And say, okay, that likely didn't come from a 50-year-old guy. You know what I mean? So
yeah, for God's sake. So, hey, listen, at the end of the day, fans, Nick Saban is out of college football. Oh, do we think college football is going to be all even now? Things are going to be even? NIL is just going to even out college football? No, it's not. The only thing that might kind of even things out is the fact that we do have a 12-team playoff, and apparently we're going to have a 16-team playoff soon, or 14 or something like that.
Believe me,
that Emil is going to do more to even out college football than NIL and loose
and as they
transfer.
see the money coming, who knows how many teams will be in it. Remember,
because if 12 is just an overwhelming windfall, they're going to be like 24, 64. What about eight? We're about
what
eight.
if we just start playing?
Yeah, we're getting to this NFL free agency deal. After I hit rant number 2 today, I promise I won't go as long. But Emil, the week leading up to the quote unquote opening of NFL free agency, I just saw safety after safety get released because they were making too much money. This is what I watched. Okay, and the crown jewel in my annoyance on this was the release of Justin Simmons by the Denver Broncos, a bedrock on that football team, a very productive player, a great man in the community, and just a solid individual overall. Cannot spend his entire year with his entire career with the Denver Broncos because they signed a quarterback from another team to a ridiculous sized contract. So he's a victim of that, seemingly, and so he's gone. But there were several others. Kevin Byard, gone from Philadelphia. The Eagles wasted his time, and apparently, according to the fans, he wasted Philadelphia's time. Quandre Diggs, and the list goes on and on and on. So all of these safeties are on the street, and then a few corners, while one of them being Xavier Howard, a guy that I'm close to, gone. Trey White, gone from Buffalo, because you've got to pay these quarterbacks. So these guys are making too much money, but these quarterbacks need to make all the money. We're going to ride everything. We're going to slide all the chips onto these guys. And with that, we can get into a discussion.
But I think, first of all, you have to have a discussion in that fans need to understand, okay, every player has a cap hit. So let's say your quarterback has a $45 and $50 million cap hit, somewhere in there. The cap's about, what, $255 this year. So now remember, I think they use the top 53 players to calculate your salary cap, whatever it is. Okay. I've got a guy, one player, remember, this isn't basketball.
Mhm.
13 or 14 guys on roster. There's 53 plus your practice squad, I think, is 17 now. You got 70 guys. You're going to count the top, let's say 53, and I've got 20% of my cap tied up in one player. So how does that work?
A lot of these fans here should know what that's like because they all play fantasy sports.
Yeah.
They all do that.
I mean,
they've all tried to put rosters together on DraftKings or FanDuel or whatever. You know what that's like. You went and you took Giannis one night, or you put Luka on your list, and now you don't even know the other two guys. You don't even know who they are. And you're hoping and praying that they actually come off the bench and play for you that night so you can get some points after. And Luka better go for 40 or 50, and that guy better come off the bench and get some minutes that night. You guys know what I'm
that's
talking about.
literally a great analogy, and that's how it works. So, the NFL, in my mind, again, you said something earlier with college football, and it's kind of ironic. We do a football show, and we're both pointing out, I think, potential pitfalls. And for those who haven't listened to us for a number of years, we've been at this well over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
We've made some pretty good predictions that have come true. We did a show 6 years ago where we broke out college football geographically into 4 16-team conferences. I'm sure people listened to it and said, that's interesting, but these two guys are tripping. And sure as hell, we pretty much have, we're not geographic.
No.
We basically have 4 big 16.
That's where we're at. Yeah, that's
where
right. Yeah, we trashed the Pac-12. We sent that off into the Pacific Ocean.
Yes.
So
So
that's where we're at.
age and experience lets you see some things if you open your eyes to what's happening. And I think the NFL has some issues that they would tell two guys like us, you're crazy, look at our ratings, look at the money. And I'm here to tell you, and I really believe this, and I've said this for years, if you took the product the NFL has today and tomorrow eliminated gambling and fantasy sports, I think your viewership would drop in terms of hardcore fans 40 to 50%.
Yeah, it would plummet, and that would represent a plummet. I think people would stream Netflix during football games. I think
100%.
MMA in the core male group would blast to the top. I think that's what would happen.
You know me a long time now. Well, it's going to be pushing through 25 years. I love sports. I'm a football. Like I say, I'm a baseball football guy. I don't follow basketball. I know what's going on. If the Lakers are doing well, I'll watch the playoff run. I'm not going to sit there in February and watch a basketball game again. If there's 5 minutes left, I'll flip one. It's okay.
Mm.
I'm emotionally invested as far as I know by when do I act like a child when my team screws up. The only team I'm emotionally invested in these days is the Dodgers. I'll still act like a child when they screw up. Cowboys, I'll have a 4-minute rant. I'll be like, bring 6 of those to my funeral. They can let me down one last time. I'm done. I'm okay with it. USC, I'll watch the game and I'll go, sorry, we stink. That's okay. Well, maybe someday. Because it's hard to be emotionally invested if you're our age, I think, as we watch the way these games have developed. For me, the NFL, when I watch a game, it's almost unrecognizable to what I even watched 20 years ago.
Yeah, Emil, I'm not. I'm the same as you. I'm emotionally invested in the New York Yankees every year.
Yeah.
I'm emotionally invested in the University of Miami football team every year, and then
played there and all, so that's a big difference.
I'm not the common fan. I actually suited up and played games.
Yeah.
And then whatever team my sons are playing for then, and it could be one team 1 year, as if we found out this year, and then it could be another team the following year. So I'm not diehard.
To answer this, so I'm going to put words in your mouth because I'm sure this is how you react. This is how I will react. My son has 2 kicks and has a good game, and they lose 21-20. Sorry about that.
Sure, especially when you see, of course, especially when you see some of the decisions that are made above his head that are supposed to be for the betterment of the entire team. It's hard to get emotionally invested in the program. I'm interested in his success. And so however that comes
into this, where I'm going with the NFL is they've got some issues, and the reason the salary cap, and this is what this conversation is going to be about free agency, so hang in there with us. We'll get to some details on free agency, but yes, the game has been engineered to focus on scoring, and at every level, the quarterback's important, but in high school and college, you can scheme around a quarterback a little bit, and still be very, very good. It's almost impossible in the NFL. If you look at the teams that have great quarterback play, they're going to be in the playoffs. Almost without question, as long as that quarterback doesn't get hurt, i.e. the Cincinnati Bengals. They lose Joe Burrow. I guarantee you, if Joe Burrow plays all last year, the Bengals are a playoff team.
Yeah, Emil, and here's what I have. I feel like I'm being, as a fan, manipulated by the National Football League, and I'm going to tell you how. First, you told me you needed to have a salary cap because salaries were out of control. So here comes the salary cap. Now that you have the salary cap, you start wanting to throw more and more money to the quarterback, and you start making rules that make that even more so. All right, so now there's this cap on all of you players, except we're going to take a good bunch of that and we're going to just shove it to this one guy. And then the rest of you guys, you get money how you can. The moment you sign a big contract for our organization, there's a bullseye on your back. If you had 14 sacks that year that we gave you $25-30 million, well, you better not ever have 7 sacks again. We need that 14 every year, or guess what? We're looking to do something with you, trade you, cut you, get you off of our roster one way or another. But your quarterbacks, you're fine. We're going to let you guys roll. You've got your guaranteed money. And if you don't perform very well and the team doesn't look very good, well, that's just going to hurt everyone else's money. You're going to get yours. Just looking at this right here. Oh, on top, we can't hit the quarterback. And we can't necessarily do anything to the guys that he's throwing the ball to. So it is, as you said, if you don't have a quarterback playing well, you really don't have a chance to get to the Super Bowl. And what does that cause? One guy really can't get hurt. And when the league realizes that, they're just going to keep making more and more rules to keep that guy upright, keep him safe. So the Bengals, because they give Joe Burrow $55 million a year, they can't pay all the other players. C.T. Higgins, all right, he should, he should be a member of this football team. But that whole game's being played. This 2 days ago, or was it yesterday, they released Joe Mixon. Joe Burrow gets hurt. Your $55 million a year player is out of there. Team's no good. Why? Because all of the money's wrapped up in that guy, and you really can't pay anyone else. This is the system that you have set up in this league. If your quarterback gets hurt, it's over. Season's over.
Yeah,
you're the Pittsburgh Pirates in baseball.
Well, in the days of like when we were This is a long time for us. We only know historically when I tell you this. The days of Bob Greasy gets hurt, Earl Morrall takes them to a Super Bowl. Phil Simms gets hurt, Jeff Hostetler takes them to a Super Bowl. Those days are gone.
Yeah, they're dead.
They're dead. And, I'm not sure that's great for the sport long term. And I think from a business perspective, what the NFL is trying to do marketing wise, we've talked about this because football players wear helmets. Most fans don't know if you said Chad Wilson plays for the New York Giants. Unless I'm a Giant fan, I don't even know what you look like. I see your helmet, right? It's easier to market the quarterback. I think they're almost following an NBA model. The NBA is like Luka is playing LeBron tonight.
Right.
Oh, by the way, the Mavericks and Lakers will be there too.
Oh, yeah, that's who's going to be on all the promo materials and everything else. And Abel, what's even crazier is these guys. All right, I'm not hating on quarterbacks. I'm hating on the major imbalance that we have. So not only do they make 40, 50, and as we talked off air, Dak's about to make $60 million. That's great. But then they're on all the commercials. They're on State Farm, this, that. They're getting all of the money. And the actual guys who don't have rules for them, the running back who can get hit sideways on every play, the guys in the interior that are slamming their helmets together just about each and every play, and the safety that's got to run up and tackle a Derrick Henry, there's no rules for him. The guys that are taking the most risk, the gruntmen, the guys on the front lines are scrambling to make $1 here, and you're going to give Kirk Cousins $180 million off of an Achilles.
Let me ask you this. Case in point, if I put up a lineup without their bodies, just their heads, just what I let you see them and you get out. And I said, as an NFL fan, I'm a non-state Cowboys team. Take Paul Jackler. How many you think would pick him out of a...
Oh, no, none at all. They wouldn't.
They'd be like,
They know
their name. They would. And I think that's where the NFL is headed. And I'm not sure the product on the field is getting better because games are decided, kind of ran by me arbitrarily. We don't really know what roughing the quarterback is. You'll watch one game where a guy will hit a quarterback center of the chest, put it kind of a step late, no flag. You'll watch another game, guy will push a quarterback one-handed. The quarterback will do a flop like in the NBA, and the flag comes out, and it's at a key time in the game.
Well, Amo, that guy's making $55 million. That is your Lamborghini parked in a parking lot, and you don't even want so much as a person to open a car door next to them and dent it in any kind of a way. This is my investment. I spent a lot of money on this car.
Right.
Now, if I pull in with my other car, which is a Toyota, okay, all right, no problem. You know what I mean? You open the door, okay, we'll be cool. I've got a Lamborghini at home. I don't really care so much about that. And that's really what this league is. How about they come up with this? You say you need a cap. You got to have a cap. These salaries are out of control. So a salary cap is there. It's not going anywhere in the NFL. How about we make a rule that no one player can make more than a certain amount of percentage of that cap? Would that be such a hard thing?
That'd be an awesome rule. That would be fantastic. And you can allocate that however you like. If you want your defensive end to be that guy, sure. But no guy can make, you pick a number, 18% of that cap, and that's it.
Is that are you sure that that's the cap number this year? What'd you say, 255?
255. It went up $30 million from last year. That tells you how much money is being shoveled in to the NFL because under their collective bargaining agreement, I believe it's something like 40% of all the revenue has to go to salaries, something like that.
All right, so if that's true, and the number I'm looking at here for Joe Burrow, and I'm just talking about Joe because he's tops on the list for now in terms of quarterback salary. He's due to make $55 million this year, and the salary cap is $255 million. You're the accountant here, but that's 21%. Should one player on a team of 53 make 21% of the money? I'd love to see that number come down to about 10.
Okay, I'll say this in two-part answer. I'm a free market guy generally. So first of all, I'm not sure I really like salary caps.
In general, but we know it's not going anywhere.
It is. Okay, so as a free market guy, I'd be saying, hey, you pay the guys whatever you want. You want to pay your left tackle $40 million a year. God bless. But if we're going to artificially cap it, then I don't think any one player should be able to take up more than a certain percentage of that cap because other guys are restrained by that. We don't have a free market. So we're basically
other guys' lives get uprooted. They've got to go change teams. They've got to leave a town and leave a city. And look, I've been performing. All right. And we can listen. I'm a Russell Wilson fan. All right. But it didn't work in Denver. And without any kind of forethought, you gave him all what you gave him. And because things worked out and he performed the way that he performed, whatever the reasons may have been in Denver, Justin Simmons has got to go. Does that make that just doesn't sound right to me? It just doesn't sound right to me.
And I don't know how it makes sense for the NFL to not see this because fans of a team, certain players, and it's just like you love a player, right? And if he's a good player, you don't want that player to go for artificial reasons. If he's not good anymore, sure, it's a meritocracy. The best players are going to stay, but if he's still a good player, you don't want if you're a Bronco fan, you don't want Justin Simmons playing for the Raiders next year.
Yeah, it's crazy. So not only is Russell Wilson got to go, so does Justin Simmons. Like, what are we even doing? And I'm just seeing there's just a ridiculous amount of, God, it's like these quarterbacks are Bitcoin or NFTs. Let me not even say Bitcoin because Bitcoin's probably a more solid investment than, maybe some people think out there. But they're like NFTs at this point. They're chasing after these things. And I'm not just even talking about these guys that are vets that are getting the big contracts. I'm watching them fall all over themselves for some of these guys that are coming out in the draft because they think that's going to be the solution to their problem. We'll have a quarterback on a rookie contract.
I'm not sure. I'm a little more cynical anymore. I used to think that. I think there's a business aspect to this and the marketing aspect. And I think we need to, as fans, to realize that not everybody outside of coaches or players is in this to necessarily win football games, right? To generate revenue.
Books?
Yeah, generate revenue.
Oh, yeah, I definitely found that out when I got to the NFL.
Yeah, so you can sell, if you're the Bears, it's easy to sell the hope of Caleb Williams because he hasn't failed yet. It's no different. You're a baseball fan like me.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball fan bases tend to love the stud minor leaguer who's on the cusp.
Oh, God. Yes.
You know why? Because he hasn't failed yet at the major league level.
Oh, no.
So
no. And they will wheel him into the lineup too fast, too early, and he'll fail, and they'll be on to the next prospect.
It's like if it's a virgin to be a little off color, okay? They're on heat, okay? That's what right now. Caleb Williams hasn't thrown a ball to a Green Bay Packer yet. If you're a Bear fan, okay?
Yeah.
Justin Fields has. So, right?
We love Caleb Williams.
Yeah, we can sell hope, and that is the NFL model. If you look at these teams, that's what yesterday and the last 2 days are in the, what is it called now? The legal tampering period, which really means the beginning of free agency, right? I mean,
unbelievable. Yes.
If you rename it, it's pre-owned car, not used. So we have 2 days of fans who are now excited. A bunch of guys changed teams. Let's look at running backs, right? Zach Moss is a Bengal. Joe Mixon's Texan. I forget where Singletary from the Texans ended up. Derrick Henry's a Raven. Tony Pollard's a Titan. We shared it. DeAndre Swift is a Bear. Saquon Barkley is an Eagle.
And he's dead to Tiki Barber. Yes, I don't even want to get into that.
We took the ingredients. We shifted them all around, right? And at the end of the day, guess what it means? If you don't you are a quarterback, okay? I said this to you, a guy named Nolan Coates. I said, great for Brian Burns, really good player. I'm glad the Giants paid him $30 million a year.
Yeah, kudos to Brian. I love it.
Hey, it didn't move the needle for the Giants because you're on the field next year.
They're going to be pathetic. They're going to be pathetic. And another place, all right? I did my whole Justin Simmons thing, but look at what happened to Saquon Barkley because you rocked all that money up into Daniel Jones.
He's going to be scoring touchdowns against you next year, Giants fans. And, this is the NFL. These days are all about hope. But if you really think about it, we shook the old shaking it in the bag. Nothing's really changed because you still got to look. Who's my quarterback? Who's my wide receiver group? Because it's an offensive league. And if I'm going to be competitive and I don't got that part of it down, I could have 5 Brian Burns on the other side.
No, it won't. It won't matter.
What would we need though? The
and that-
Raiders. Okay, the kid from your home team, the Dolphins.
Yes.
Great player, 4 years, 110 million. Nice. We're gonna put him in the inside. Max Crosby on the outside. That's all well and good. Who plays quarterback? Who plays quarterback for the Raiders?
Listen, here's what that is for me though. I see Antonio Pierce, a guy who played defense. All right, he's a defensive coach. And Colin Cowherd goes off about the defensive coaches. But I see a guy that's trying to shake things up a little bit. And he's trying to say, hey, listen, I don't need a mega quarterback, because how many of those are there anyway? I'll take a guy that's reasonably competent at the position, which Gardner Minshew has shown himself to be. It's not a disaster. The guy can not lose you a football game and then occasionally win you a football game. So, but what I am going to do is invest on the side of the ball that I know, and that is we are going to play defense here. He's already said he's going to rough up Patrick Mahomes, so get ready to throw your flags. We're going to beat that guy up.
He's going to flag up the Raiders and turn.
That's fine. Throw the flags. We're going to make that guy sore.
Yeah.
So he might play against us in the first game.
Correct.
He might be missing in the second game.
I guess in the old days, maybe Gardner could take some pressure off himself. He could turn around, hand the ball to Josh Jacobs up, except that Josh Jacobs is now in Green Bay.
They're probably going to be in the market for a running back in this draft.
Who's that? I mean, listen, all I'm getting at...
You can find 10 of them in the 6th round because we don't care about running backs.
I'm getting at with all this, it's a lot of interest. It gives us good content. Fans love to talk about it. But I'm not sure. There's no shortcut in the NFL. You're not going to move the needle, generally speaking. As much as Dan stated, in free agency, Robert Hunt from the Dolphins, a pretty good player. I don't think he's a 5-year, $100 million player that the Carolina Panthers did.
Well, I'll tell you what. We've got positions here. I'm looking at it right now. We're going to start with running back since that's what we're on. And I'm not talking... You can deal with the contract if you want to. I'm just going to name the player, tell you where he left to where he is, and you rate that free agent move on a scale of 1 to 5.
Okay.
Fair enough? Josh Jacobs from Las Vegas to Green Bay.
3.
Saquon Barkley, Giants to the Eagles.
3. Now, let me qualify that. He's a better player than Swift if he's healthy. He has the same injury issues. I don't think it's that significant an upgrade because they already have a good offensive line.
The Giants?
The Eagles.
Well, he might be safer behind that Eagles line.
Maybe, but what I'm trying to say is the Eagles were going to run the ball fine with Swift, and they just paid a lot of extra money for what Swift got from the Bears.
I'm interested in your thoughts here. Tony Pollard from Dallas to Tennessee.
That's a 2 to me because I still take it. I want
to give you crap because of your fandom, but I'm with you on that.
I think Derrick Henry still has a good solid year or 2 left from what I can see.
A lot of these guys subscribe to the Bill Belichick theory now of better 1 year too early than 1 year too late. DeAndre Swift from Philadelphia to Chicago.
We go to Chicago last year. I'm trying to remember.
Khalil Herbert and a bevy of other guys.
I mean, it's a 3.5. I mean, Swift is a good player. I mean, he gets some pop if he's healthy. Again, another guy who last year didn't get hurt, but he's got a history of injuries.
Devin Singletary leaves Houston, goes to the Giants. He's the replacement for Saquon Barkley.
Wow.
Derrick Henry.
Wait, let's stop on that one. The Giants are going to have Jones coming off an injury. I can't name for the life of me a receiver right now, the Giants, because maybe during the season I could have named one. They have a bad offensive line, and they just got rid of their most explosive offensive player.
Emil, let me tell you something. If there is a team that needs an A+ NFL draft this year, it is the New York Giants. Good Lord.
Oh my.
Derrick Henry from Tennessee to Baltimore.
Oh, that's a 4 to me. I think he's going to be pretty interesting behind their line with Lamar pulling the ball out and the threat of him taking it off. That's going to be fun to watch.
Probably some good stuff there. Austin Eckler from the Chargers to the Commanders.
Like a 2. I mean, I don't know.
Aaron Jones from Green Bay to Minnesota.
Oh,
I like that one.
that's a 4 to me because the Vikings foolishly got rid of Dalvin Cook. Thought that would get, what was it, Madison?
A good running back when paired with Cook,
When
not
paired
to
with
take
Cook.
the whole load by
I
himself.
think Jones has some pop left in him. I can attest to it because he ran all over my team in the playoffs. So
Here's the final one. Zach Moss from Indianapolis to Cincinnati. He's the Joe Mixon replacement.
I think that's just a wash. Like that might be a 2 or a 3 because I mean I don't see the problem with Mixon other than he probably made more money than they paid Moss.
Yes, and again, your quarterback makes $55 million. I'm gonna run through there hasn't been a whole bunch of movement in the wide receiver market. So quickly, I'll run through this. Darnell Mooney leaves Chicago, goes to Atlanta, picks up $39 million.
That's a 2. Go ahead.
Gabe Davis leaves Buffalo, goes to Jacksonville.
I'm Gabe Davis is a nice player, so I'm not criticizing the guy. Again, that's a 2 though. Does that really do anything? I mean, is he going to change Jacksonville's fortunes that much? I guess.
No, and that's all I would care to speak about in the wide receiver room. Not much at the defensive end.
Well, I mean, Daniel Hunter going these 2 was interesting. He's getting 2 years and $49 million. They're going to pair him with Will Anderson, but they already had a kid there that was an ascending player. Was his name Grenier? How do you say his last name? The kid is signed with the Vikings.
Grenard.
He had 12.5 sacks last year.
Mm-hmm.
He went to Minnesota 4 years, $76 million. So you could have kept a player like him, who again was very productive already, when paired with Will Anderson.
In your system, already proven in your system.
A younger player for a fraction of what you're paying, 70% of what you're paying Daniel Hunter, who has been a productive player. He's getting into his 30s now. Had a big year last year. But this is the thing. Before we go any further, and I like doing this as you go through them, but football is not like baseball or basketball. And I mean that in the sense that because a guy that is really, really good, to steal the Chad Wilson line, let's use Daniel Hunter. I like Daniel Hunter as a Viking. That's all I know about him. Because
that's huge in this game. Who you play for, the system that you play in, is very, very important. Because, man, there's only a handful of guys there are only a handful of Deion Sanders. It's just going to be Deion Sanders wherever he goes. There's only a handful of Jerry Rice's. There's only a handful of Lawrence Taylor's. Guys are going to be good in a system, and they're going to be not so good in another system. And that's just the way that it goes.
I know there's some guys sitting there listening to this now saying, well, isn't that the coaches and scouts and GM's job to figure that out? Well, sure. But, take Daniel Hunter. You might think what by tape, what you watch on tape, he can do in Houston in your system what he did in Minnesota, but they never really asked him to do that in Minnesota. So you're kind of, again, projecting skill sets. And
he's literally a rookie when you do that. He's a rookie.
When you take him and ask him to do something else.
Of course. And he's worse than a rookie because you're asking a guy who's already been successful in this league doing something to do something else. And so he's got this block in his mind of, you're asking me to do this other thing. And I've already proven at this high level where I've been paid for that this is the thing that I do. And now you're asking me to do this. A rookie comes in and just doesn't know.
I mean, I'm not even getting into the complicated stuff that a coach like you would know. But I'm saying just as a fan perspective, what fans don't realize, there's certain systems where defensive linemen are asked to first play the run and transition to a pass rush move once they realize it's not a running play. There's other systems that say, hell, the run. Just you're going after the quarterback. You have to.
It's as simple as a guy going from a 4-3 to a 3-4 system.
Oh yeah,
I was lined up in gaps, and now I'm head up.
But I'm even talking about mental responsibilities. Like if if a guy was just pure pass rush, don't worry about the run. If you see a running back, try to grapple.
You see this at all positions. Yeah. The safety was used to playing in the post and on the hash. Now he's down in the box taking on linemen. That's not what I do. I just have never understood coaches that do that too, by the way. Force players into doing things they are not necessarily good at doing.
Well, that's a whole other conversation. But I think in tackle free agency, that's where fans need to understand there's more to this. There's a couple of things in free agency. They'll either pay a young player that's on the assess with the thought that he'll fit their system, and they may do an overpay on the last year they saw because they think, well, there's more respect, I hit the moon. Or they're paying a guy that, and again, I'm not picking on him, he may kill it for Houston to be great, only because I just was reading about sort of Daniel Hunter, 2 years, $49 million. Part of that's being paid for past production. But they're saying, hey, this was a 4-time Pro Bowler.
Right.
We're going to bring him here. We assume he's going to be a 4-time, a Pro Bowl player. So you're
because he's just of the same player on all 32 teams.
But
where they get that idea, I have no idea. We have to, on our way out here, and we've already established that quarterbacks are the tits in football. And so we do got to talk about what's going on with quarterbacks in this league. Let's just start with Kirk Cousins.
How do you like me now?
Yeah, Kirk Cousins going to Atlanta. And Emil, I just want to read this off to you. Listen, I am in no way. I'm actually, here's how I feel about Kirk Cousins. I feel the same way about him the way I feel about Floyd Mayweather. And, my brother Danny and I, who you obviously know very well, argue all the time about Floyd Mayweather. He thinks he's the best of all time. I say absolutely, positively not. And so when I say that, he thinks I'm a hater. I am not a hater. I love Floyd Mayweather, the businessman in boxing. It's a brutal sport, get hit in the head, and he found a way to really avoid all of that, avoid fights, avoid getting hit in the ring, and make more money than anyone ever has in this game.
Absolutely. Great.
I'm happy for Floyd Mayweather that he's been able to do that. Don't tell me he's the best the best boxer of all time. I don't want to hear that. If you go by the numbers in terms of money made, Kirk Cousins is the best quarterback ever to play in the NFL. I'm going to run through this really quick. Bear with me, audience. In 2012, he signed a $2.5 million rookie deal for which he saw all of the money. He completed that contract. Then we did all the whole franchise tag thing on his way out of Washington. In 2016, when his rookie deal was up, he signed a contract for $19.95 million guaranteed, because that's what happens when they franchise tag you. The following year, they did it again, $23.9 million fully guaranteed. You guys can do some quick math in your head. It's piling up for Kirk. Then eventually they let him go. He goes to Minnesota. He signs an $84 million fully guaranteed contract with the Minnesota Vikings. I believe that was for 3 years. Old Kirk was betting on himself there. So when that deal was up, they re-upped with Kirk. They bought more product. And so $66 million fully guaranteed for another 3 years. And then in 2022, Kirk, still betting on himself, signed a $35 million fully guaranteed contract. And as we all know now, that contract is up. Kirk has hit the door. And off of an Achilles injury, like, all right, 1 or 2 year deal somewhere, and we'll just see what kind of player Kirk is. Hopefully he can help a team come in and stabilize them. That's at the cusp. They're really close. They just need no. He goes to Atlanta, did they make the playoffs last year? Oh, no, they didn't. They've got a lot of holes. They signed him for $180 million, $100 million of which fully guaranteed. Folks, that's going to be $400 million in career earnings for Kirk Cousins if he never played.
I think that little exercise that you just went through kind of proves the point of this whole segment on free agency and what we talked about quarterbacks. There is such a desperation and dearth.
Yes.
There's a word for people out there if you want to add a word.
Google that.
A dearth of quarterbacks in the NFL that a guy like Kirk Cousins, who to me is squarely middle of the pack, can make that kind of money. I mean, teams are desperate and they see a guy, I'm all for him getting the money. Good for him. I believe you. And he's a nice guy. From what I've seen interviews, good guy.
Yes. And when we do stuff like this, it's nothing against the player personally. It's never that.
Well, we were talking before the show. Like, to me, this is I watched one game last year against the Eagles where this was the typical Kirk Cousins game starts, Kirk either gets hit and fumbles in the pocket, throws a pick. Somewhere there's a couple turnovers early in the game. We're down 14 or 17 nothing. Not a problem. Loose over, I got Justin Jefferson over there. I'm going to throw a few slants to him. We're going to dig and dunk the games and go out. We're going to throw the ball all day now because we're down.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
game
we're
ends.
intensive.
Final score 34-31, 34-28. Pick score. You go to Kirk Klein, 34-46, 345, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Perfect, right? And then
Garbage stats king.
you do that 12 or 13 times, and the year comes, man, your stat sheet is filled up. Your team's record's 9-8, by the way.
Emily's played 12 seasons in the NFL. How many of those seasons do you think have been winning seasons? Throw a number out there.
5.
You hit it right on the head. How many of those seasons do you think he's had double-digit wins?
1.
2.
Okay. What's you have his career record in front of you? The starter.
His career record as a starter, 76, 67, and 2 somehow.
Okay. So basically, a guy who was a 500 quarterback. And remember, folks, before you tell me, the old, well, it's like the pitcher who pitches for a bad baseball team, not even the same, because in today's NFL, the rules are geared toward the quarterback elevating the rest of the team.
Yes.
So, the whole reason you're paying the quarterback $45 million is because you think he can elevate the rest of the team. You're paying a guy $45 million who's basically split his game. What did I say? Team's record is 9-8. Was I that far off? Divide do the half.
No, you're not. And in Minnesota, for all of those seasons, minus this last one, which you got hurt at anyway, you had Alvin Cook. For the last, 3 seasons, you had a guy who's arguably in the top 5 in wide receivers in the league, operating right now in Justin Jefferson. You've had a pretty good defense. And you also had Adam Thielen for a good amount of those years, too. And the best you could do was, I'm going to read them off for you, 8-7, 10-5, 7-9, 8-8, 13-4. And at the time that your leg exploded last year, you were 4-4.
And I'm looking something up right now while we're doing this, because this is the comedy and just the commentary on the NFL that just it lacks any kind of historical perspective when they talk about a player, because there was guys. I mean, Stephen A. Smith is the only guy who had the guts to say, "Hey, tap the brakes on this," because this guy's not that good. You know what I mean? Basically, like everybody else at the last couple of days was going crazy, talking about Kirk Cousins to Atlanta and could he be the missing piece? And I'm looking here. Let's see. I can't find. I think. Okay, Kirk Cousins has 1 playoff win. Okay, and a 76 and 67 record. Every time we talk about Dak Prescott, he's horrible. You listen to the national media, guys are going, "Oh, he's only got 2 playoff wins." Go look up Dak Prescott's record. Hey, he's got 62% win percentage, 61% for his career. You can't luck your way into that. He's a good player. He's not Patrick Mahomes. But the media...
There's one Patrick Mahomes, so...
But I'm saying the media handles him when he has a failure, that he's the worst that ever existed. How did this guy... When you really look at his career, it's been...
Well, it's that star on the side of the helmet.
It, but my point is, this is the guy, Kirk Cousins. You watch, when he gets his new deal, which will probably be with Dallas, but who knows? When he gets $60 million, they will trash him in the national media.
Yeah, they'll be up in arms. Oh, it'll be all on the shows. It's good content.
Kirk
I gotta ask you this.
All the Atlanta Falcons need. That's it. Just Kirk Cousins.
If he couldn't lead the Minnesota Vikings to the NFC Championship, do we think he'll do that with the Atlanta Falcons? No. I don't want to say listen, I don't want to sit there and say, oh, do I think he'll get him to the playoffs? Because we do got to think about the division that he's going to be in now. Carolina is a disaster. We don't know what the Saints are. And in the Buccaneers, we'll have to see if Baker Mayfield can continue to do what he does there. So you can get to the playoffs there. You can luck your way into winning the division. Is this guy going to get them to the NFC Championship? The Atlanta Falcons?
No, he the missing? Okay, Atlanta has a pretty decent offensive line. I think they have the highest paid guard in football. I think is it Lindstrom on there? The guard says they
he's up there.
Yeah. They have a Drake London, a USC guy. My guy is playing wide out there. They got Kyle Pitts, who has talent. It hasn't quite materialized yet, but he's got some skills at tight end. And they
They have no
Robinson.
idea how to use them. Yes.
And they got Robinson that he can always turn around and hand the ball to, as long as Arthur Blank lets him allows him to have more than 15 carries. Because there was games last year.
Good Lord, yeah, that was outrageous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Again, I don't want to hate on the guy. So, but it sure seems that I've got to head in that direction, man, because we got to call a spade a spade. We've laid it out for you, 76 and 67, one playoff win, and you definitely had talent in Minnesota. Would you, Emil, have gone the route of, if you were the Atlanta Falcons, Justin Fields over Kirk Cousins?
I must be the only guy in the United States that sees more Fields than other people, because
I'm with you there too, though.
Yeah,
I thought he got a raw deal in Chicago, and I thought he played well down the road for that team.
I mean, I thought that Chicago was sitting there about to take Williams, and I say, coming out of college at this point with another guy that you've developed, is he really that much better than Fields? Fields can run with the ball, so can Williams. I mean, Williams probably has a slightly stronger arm, but Fields has a good arm. I watched him play at Ohio State. He can make the throws. I think he's a big guy. I mean, I think he's like 6'3". So what do you really think?
I find it weird that he's still floating around out there.
But listen, if I was Atlanta, with the people I just described, that young core as like a skill set, and a guy like Robinson, a running back, I would get very interested in Fields to see some of the things I could have did with the offense and a guy who has some ability to run like him.
Yeah, I might have been one to make that move over the Kirk Cousins thing. And then you potentially got a future there. I don't know how much longer is Kirk Cousins.
If I'm the Bears, I think, and no matter what people tell you, every scout will tell you they nailed this one. Every GM. Let's be honest. Picking quarterbacks in the first round is a crapshoot. You just don't know. You don't know until they get there. There's
it's a tough deal.
Because people forget, when Peyton Manning came out, Ryan Leaf came out.
Mm-hmm.
Peyton Manning's in the Hall of Fame. Ryan Leaf is coaching high school football somewhere. That's not a shot at Ryan Leaf. My point is,
that's just how it worked out. That's just how it ended up working out.
People don't know Ryan Leaf was off the charts with just arm talent, as far as just size.
It was a complete love affair with his skill talent.
Yeah, so I mean, if I'm the Bears, I'm getting the team that has to have Williams, and I'm fleecing them. I'm getting a ton of picks.
Hey, Mo, what if they can't offload this guy and they still draft Caleb Williams?
That's not good. Are you gonna if they can't make a trade before the draft, I might reassess my whole. Maybe they are playing a little bit coy here. Maybe they're asking for a ton for Fields, knowing that if we can't get it, maybe we get a surprise draft day trade where all of a sudden the Bears say, if somebody was going to give us some really high picks, we would trade Fields. We're going to keep Fields. We're going to grab 2 firsts and a second. We're going to move down 5 spots or whatever it is.
That would be. I'd love to see a chess move like that. I really would love to see the Bears make a chess play like that and not go the way that everyone thinks that they're going to go. And offload this guy for,
Or maybe a team like the Giants comes along, or the Raiders, and basically gives you their draft. They do a Ricky Williams. They almost give you their draft.
That's the play. I like it, Emil. I'm not going to lie to you. Keep shoving that out there. And as people move around in free agency, we know what these first 3 days are, and you don't get your guy and people start feeling desperate, you might get a guy. You just might get a guy to make that kind of a move. And then that would be a turning point for the Chicago Bears. Now they're chess players and not playing checkers.
Yes, and I get 1 more year of Fields. If he develops, I'm a genius. If he doesn't, I've got enough draft capital from that trade. I'm going to get my quarterback next year.
I could do something. I could go Shadir Sanders or whoever you think the next year or whatever the case may be.
There's always somebody. There's always the next one.
There's always another savior of your program that's going to Econ 311
Yes.
in a college somewhere, ready to fix things for you. All right, I think that's going to do it for us here. Free agency carries on. This is probably the last day of frenzy. You know, there'll be the other fringe signings that come down the road. Maybe we get a couple of surprises here or there. I think it would be more along the lines of what you talked about, where we get some kind of a draft capital move there.
The moves that win championships, besides having a quarterback that can win championship, don't happen the first 3 days. Typically, it's the moves that people don't pay attention to over
Down
the
the road.
next couple weeks that fortify good teams in areas where they're judiciously using their money. No different than in baseball with the midseason trade. It's usually not the blockbuster starter.
Yes.
It's the Yankees, back in the 90s, grabbing, some guy, could match righties,
Yeah, well, the first 3 days are going to be NFTs and Dogecoin. And then after those first 3 days, over the next few weeks, we'll start seeing Apple getting bought, Amazon getting purchased, Microsoft, Meta, Google. Those will be bought in the next coming weeks. So that's how this thing is going to go. But believe you me, while it all unfolds, Emil and I will be here to talk to you guys about it. That's for sure. All right. So that's it for us. We're going to be out of here. And don't forget to check out the sponsors and subscribe to the show on whatever it is you happen to be watching or listening to us on. We'll be back at you again with all of the great football action on the next episode of Two Chumps Football Podcast. For Emil Calamino, I'm Chad Wilson. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.